In this video, I'm going to show you the exact process of how I've overcome brain cancer with given a 1 to 10 year life expectancy. Over the years, I've been asked so many times how I was able to conquer this entire brain cancer journey. And everyone's in many different situations. So I want to be very clear that what I'm about to show you is not a cure for everybody, okay? Every human has a completely different body, completely different genes, and so many different variables that come into play for this stuff to work, okay? It can help. It is not a proven cure. But for me, that is different. So if you want to take exactly what I'm going to show you to apply for your overall health or beating any sort of cancer, it can contribute to helping you, okay? But it is not a cure. I just want to be very, very clear. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Logan Sneed. And again, I've been through so many different things mentally, emotionally, financially, physically, spiritually, everything. And the brain cancer journey that I've been through has a huge part of that. And it has shaped me into who I am today. All of those things have also destroyed me from the very beginning. But now I've been able to create my new self. And I'm going to show you everything that I've done to do that. Again, you're going to see from 1996 to 2025 from the time that I'm recording this video. Okay. Now let's immediately just start with what happened to me at 2 years old, okay? So again, bear with me because this is all gonna link to the brain tumor, okay? Because you may be watching this and you're thinking, how does this have anything to do with the brain tumor? All of these things will add up to that, okay? Now, if you wanna skip through into some different pieces that may just be about health or nutrition or mindset, you're welcome to do that, but I'm just gonna go complete A to Z through the whole thing. All right, so again, first thing was I broke my neck in the C1 vertebrae when I was 2 years old. I was upside down on the monkey bars and I told my dad to let go of my feet because I wanted to do it myself. I wanted to feel accomplished. He said, no, it's very dangerous. And I said, no, I want to do it. I want to do it. Well, I did. I fell completely on my head, broke my neck in the C1 vertebrae. And the effect number one was that if it was broken 1 inch over, I would have been paralyzed from the neck down forever. And effect number two was that I wore a neck brace for many months, right? And because I couldn't turn my head, right? So I had to bring my spine and my brain back together. So this is a huge thing, is that people have always wondered, like, I'm eating right, I'm doing right, I feel right, I'm always stressed. Guys, your posture has a huge correlation to how you feel on a day-to-day basis. That is one thing that has massively affected me over my years, having gone through the emotional trauma and the physical trauma that I've been through, and I could never overcome my stress, my anxiety. But when I really honed in on my posture and really aligned my spine with my brain, my anxiety has massively, massively gone down. And there's other factors to that and other things that I've done, but that is one massive thing. All right, so poor posture effect could have correlations to long-term health. Basically, just like I had just said, is that it can cause significant anxiety. It can bring serious inflammation. It can cause your brain to be misaligned with your spine, which is just seriously causing the brain to not allow it to function like it needs to, okay? Now that was 2 years old. So let's carry on here to 4 years old. Then I had a staph infection, all right? So it was in my lymph nodes. You can't really see the scar, but it's down here on my neck, right? And they're located behind the throat, and known as the retropharyngeal nodes. Can't really pronounce that. They're the most predominant in young children before they begin to recede around 4 or 5, right? So this makes them a more frequent site for infection. So I had the infection got inside my neck. So that was pretty brutal, and it resulted in me having to have slight neck surgery. It wasn't anything crazy, but it did have to be treated and it had to be worked on. So that was 4 years old. All right, so started life off with not good things happening to my neck, which is linked to my brain. Okay, so let's carry on. Now we go into 12 years old. All right. Now, what you're seeing right here, this red line, okay, let me just go up here so you can see kind of the keyboard or whatever, right? So red means sugar and processed food. Orange is overeating. Yellow is constant inflammation. Brown is anxiety and worry. Green is keto diet and fasting, and blue is meditation, all right? So when you see red, you can just see here as examples. We have Papa John's, Coca-Cola, pizza, just absolute trash food, okay? Now, the yellow of constant inflammation, the reason I put a weight here was because I had massively been overtraining. It wasn't that, you know, that weightlifting does that, okay? That's not the case. I just had never listened to my body. I listened to my head, and that's not good to do. Okay, and then the green is obviously ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting, okay? 10 years old is when all of this really unhealthy eating started taking place. And coincidentally, at 13 years old, I was in a basketball game and I was taking a charge, I was trying to stop this guy from dunking, and I took a charge, and boom, as he's going up, elbows straight into the eye, and as my head is coming down, his foot, boom, right into the wood. All right, blood was everywhere. It was bad. Game had to be literally shut down with how much blood was everywhere. I had to go to call the ambulance, game over, boom, woken up in the hospital, and it was bad, okay? What happened is effect number one was that the injury happened on the left side of the brain, okay, right here, right? And connected to the temporal lobe, which is right here, which is where the tumor was. And effect number two is I couldn't see out of my eye. So my left eye has an amblyopia, which caused me to only see out of my right eye. Excuse me, my right eye has an amblyopia, and this eye is actually really bad vision. It's like very bad. Like I can't even read what's on this paper that I'm holding. And then this eye is crazy good, like way better than the human average. And what happens is that my brain has like fully adapted to just using this eye basically. And it has made it really good vision. So I actually have some pretty exceptional vision, but this eye is horrifically bad, like so bad I almost failed my driver's license test because this eye couldn't pass any vision test at all. Okay, so when this eye was swollen shut and then I had just this eye, I was literally, like everything was like, it was just off, all right? So I had that effect from that injury, okay? Now, coming over here, and the years go by, still eating, trash food, like we're talking like pancakes, we're talking, pizza, donuts and sugar and just, like so bad for you guys. And so for everybody, not just you guys, me as well, but like it is literally causing inflammation, which is the absolute recipe for cancer. Okay. Of course, I didn't know that, right? My parents didn't know that. No one really knew that. It's grown in today's world, which is good, but no one really knew that. Okay. So at 16, 17, and 18, okay, I had head injury number 2 and 3 and 4, okay? But these were stitches, right? So numerous injuries to the left side of the skull, just above my eyebrows, and this has resulted in stitches needed from separate injuries in the same spot of the brain, right? So more injuries to the brain in the same area that result in stitches causes inflammation consistently equals cancer stimulation, right? Now, this is very subjective. You may go ask a neuro-oncologist about this, and they're going to tell you, no, that's not the case. I'm not a neuro-oncologist. They may have better answers than me, but I'm just telling you from my calculation of what I have added up on every single moment of every single thing, the math is almost too good to not listen to, okay? And it is inflammation. So I don't care how you're receiving and getting inflammation, mental thoughts, your physical exertion, it does not matter. Too much inflammation is the fuel for any cancer. And this was another huge cause of that, okay? So then let's go right here to the blue zone, or excuse me, the yellow and orange, which is gonna be 17, 18, 19 years old. 20 years old, right? Almost 20. And this is when I started getting a little bit more healthy and I started really getting into fitness, okay? I wanted to gain muscle. I wanted to get jacked. I wanted to just like be this jacked dude badly. And I did everything I could and I did it. But the problem is that I didn't necessarily do it in the best way. It's not that I was super unhealthy. I was eating chicken, rice, and beans, but to me, health meant calories. Health meant protein, it meant carbs. It didn't mean what my body was actually eating and processing. So these are just some examples. Like I would go eat at Chipotle, get a massive 2,000 calorie burrito. I would have some chicken and rice, and nothing wrong with that. I'd have a smoothie, but those can be packed with sugars. And then I would have just a ton of bread, and I would have a ton of French fries and a ton of caffeine, just whatever I could do that I would think that would get me jacked. And here's what I ended up looking like. And so you can clearly see, cool, it looks like it's a lot of muscle, but what's also happening is it's a ton of inflammation, okay? A ton of it, all right? Now, you can even look at my, just notice the difference now, all right? You can just see, here, this is a good one here. Look at my face then, okay? I'm 19 years old. I'm 29 years old right now, okay? That's a 10-year difference. And I mean, hopefully you think I look younger here than I do there, because there I looked like almost like I was a dad or something. I don't know. It's crazy. Over here we have the 19 years old range, okay? And this is when, let's come back up here so we know, okay, anxiety and worry. All right, so remember that. Now here is where anxiety and worry started taking place. But on top of that is also where keto came in. So let me explain how this all came in and why it came in. So this day right here, right, I was kind of building up some time of like, all right, I want to get shredded now, right? The years had gone by. I want to look like I'm super shredded. So I started cutting down my calories. In one day, this was completely the dumbest decision to do. I don't care anybody's fitness nutrition goals, okay? I went from having a super spiked blood sugar with extremely high carbs and high calories to one day, again, I didn't fully know what to do. I wasn't a professional at this. To then literally dropped all of my carbs and cut my calories in half just in one day. Okay, I did it in one day, and that completely shocked my body. Okay, so what happened was I took this photo, and this was basically day one. And this is when I officially started saying, okay, I'm gonna now really dive real deep into starting to get shredded. And so what happened was I took this photo and then I went to the gym. Now, as I'm driving to the gym, I decided to FaceTime my ex-girlfriend at the time. And I don't know why, again, spiritually, right? You can interpret how you want to interpret this, but I don't know why I decided to do that. That one moment I did. I've never FaceTime and drove my car at the same time, but that moment I did. And I said, hey, I'm thinking of you. I just want to talk to you and just say I love you. And boom, I started seizing as I was driving 85 miles an hour on the fastest highway in the United States, here in Austin, Texas. Okay, so that is what then resulted in seizure while driving, right? And I slurred my words and landed in a ditch with no car damage and taken to the hospital for tests. So here are just some photos of what it had all looked like, of the ditch I landed into, and I was completely knocked out, right? And so I get there, they did drug tests, they did alcohol tests, steroid tests. I mean, every single test. They couldn't find anything. There's nothing is showing. We got to get an MRI. It's the only thing we can do. So we did. Came back, and this is what we had. Okay, so this was a massive tumor. It was the size of an egg, all right? You can just imagine basically this, okay? The size of an egg inside my head. So they immediately said, okay, hold on. You're going to have to go talk to a neurologist. A neurologist said, hey, you're going to have to go talk to a brain surgeon. We go to a brain surgeon here in Austin, Texas, and this brain surgeon said, hey, you are either going to have a very short lifespan by not getting this surgery, because this is probably a cancerous tumor and you will be dead very soon. Or if you do the surgery, you probably won't speak or hear again. Which one did you want? Of course, my heart sunk. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to handle the situation. We ended up leaving. I ended up getting connected to the top brain surgeon in the world, Dr. Raymond Sawaya. And unfortunately, he is now fully retired, but he saved my entire life. I asked him, I said, am I going to be able to speak or hear after the surgery? Because I need to know this. He said, don't even worry about it. You're going to be totally fine. Just follow my lead and exactly what I'm going to do to help you in this process, and you will be okay. And I was like, whoa. Your answer is completely different than what this other guy said. This isn't making sense, but I'm going to trust you. So I did, right? So we did the whole surgery. The surgery was massively successful. 100% tumor removal, which is incredible. And then it came back with a glioblastoma brain tumor, stage 4, okay? They said you have a 1 to 10 year life expectancy. Nothing that we can do will help you. We're going to try chemotherapy, radiation, and it's a seriously high chance of reoccurrence. So we'll just do what we can. Okay. Then what happened is that in that meeting, my dad said, well, should he stop, eating certain things and maybe start eating a little bit more healthy? Like, will that help? Will that have any positive correlation? They said, no, sorry. It's not going to have any negative or positive effect, which is complete BS. Okay. Again, I'm not saying that there's a specific food that's going to cure cancer, but what I will tell you is that there is factual evidence that food does have a negative or positive effect on anybody's life with growing cancer or shrinking cancer, okay? It does have an effect. So by hearing an oncologist say, go eat a bunch of shit, go eat burgers and fries, it should be illegal. It should be actually illegal. Thankfully, she's now fired. She's no longer a neuro-oncologist, because if she told everybody that, she's literally killing people, like literally killing them. Like, that's how bad it is. So we ended up, time went by. I didn't know what to do. And I ended up meeting up with one of my friends who knew about the ketogenic diet. And he said, I was in Hawaii and I heard about this ketogenic diet. It has been shown to shrink tumors, prevent tumor regrowth, cure seizures, reduce anxiety, lower inflammation, help weight loss, cognitive brain function, and starvation of brain cancer cells, or cancer cells in general. And I was like, okay. I was like, tell me more. He said, well, it's a high fat, medium protein, low carb diet. So as an example would be fish, eggs, vegetables, avocado, oils, things like that. And I was like, okay, this sounds really freaking good. If that's what I have to do and eat delicious food like that to hopefully, I don't know, do something about it, like, I will gladly do it. So that night I stayed up all night just simply diving into what the ketogenic diet is. Now, again, this is over 10 years ago from the time I'm recording this video. So at that time, nobody online, nobody on social media was talking about ketogenic diet. Maybe one doctor who had just a couple hundred followers. Hardly anybody. Because it was brand new. It was brand new to like the clinical research world. And these are examples of what I started making. So, you got, eggs, salmon, bacon, broccoli, vegetables, right? Some of them are pretty massive meals because I was doing a 1 meal a day time period, and I'll elaborate on that in a second. But these are just some examples of the food that I was making. And at this time, you can see I was able to actually work out, and I was actually to do training during that time. In the ketogenic diet, I have to give a lot of credit to give me that energy. And it was radiation. So I did radiation. And I get asked, like, did you feel terrible during chemo and radiation? I didn't. And I don't know what, how, why. I mean, I got to give keto some credit. I got to give, obviously, age. That helps. I did oral chemo, and I'll explain that in a second. But like, I felt pretty normal through the whole thing. Coming back over here, this is about 21 years old, right? I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry, but I was still eating very healthy, okay? And this is when I started doing 2 meals a day plus intermittent fasting. So I looked up, or I found Dr. Berg. If you look up Dr. Berg on YouTube, you're gonna see so many videos of health that he has done that I was addicted to, and it really, really, really helped. So he talked about intermittent fasting, how it could starve any cancer cells and prevent tumor regrowth. I got super excited because I was like, okay, I just drink a bunch of water, have some salt. Keto helps me not be hungry, and I just don't eat food, and then it could help potentially starve cancer cells. I was like, sign me up, right? So effect number 6, right? So I had weight loss, there's cancer starvation, deeper state of ketosis, cognitive boost, and no spike of blood sugar, because spiking blood sugar is what fuels cancer. So when you spike it a lot, that is exactly what's fueling cancer. But when you're in a ketogenic state, it's constantly starving cancer because cancer doesn't have sugar. It doesn't have glucose to fuel that cancer. Then what happened is I started seeing pretty crazy results physically in my body. And I started posting this on social media about my story, going through chemo, radiation, all this stuff. And these are my physical results while going through all of that, following the ketogenic diet. There was people who didn't even believe it. Like, it's just crazy. Like, they thought that I had like photoshopped it, which is insane. I mean, I get it. It's a pretty wild transformation, but I mean, it worked. Like, it's clear evidence it worked. So yeah, these are just some viral photos, and you guys can see from, let's go back up here. Okay. So notice this, remember this photo to then boom, this photo here, right? That was like the serious transformation. Okay. So that is when I had really brought that into play. It started really, really helping. It gave me some hope. It gave me some, something, it gave me a mission, right? This is one of the biggest things, guys. Like, when I knew that there was something that I could do, right? There was something, it gave me a mission. And as human beings, we want a mission, right? We want something to wake up for every single day. And when I was diagnosed, I had nothing to wake up for, right? Like, I was going to be dead. I was like, why do I wake up? Like, I had suicidal thoughts, right? It was just like, I don't want to wake up. But when I found out there was something that I could do, I wanted to go face it because it made it fun. It made it like there was a reward every single day. And the reward wasn't, oh, now you're fully cancer free. The reward was knowing that I'm battling something within inside me, physically, mentally, emotionally. And every single day that I took the action by following through with eating these things and intermittent fasting, it knew that I won every single day. And if I won every single day by 1%, that would get me closer and closer to the life I've always wanted. And that's what life is. It's battling every single day and winning. And that's what wakes me up. So to come down here, and this is when I found out about the 1 meal a day. So I found out that, okay, you can actually starve the cancer even more by doing 1 meal a day. I was like, 1 meal a day? I was like, that's insane. And apparently the studies have found out about autophagy. And what that can do is starve cancer cells by being in a deep state of ketosis, okay? So autophagy is the cellular process of self-eating where a cell breaks down and recycles its damaged or dysfunctional components such as old proteins and organelles for energy and new building blocks, right? So this crucial recycling system helps maintain cellular health, homeostasis, remove pathogens, and adapt to stress. So in humans, autophagy is a natural process that helps prevent various diseases, but it can be influenced by factors like diet and exercise, okay? So essentially what this does is it's basically saying, okay, we don't have food right now. We don't have work to do. We're not processing really much in your stomach and your body, so there's really nothing that we should do. Oh, wait. Because of that, let's go work on your immune system. So what's going to happen is it's going to go wipe out and destroy your entire immune system. And then it's going to start rebuilding it. It's like having a perfectly white blanket, okay, as an example, and it's dirty. You can see it's like gray, it's got black stains. It's just not good, right? Or like an air condition, right? An air conditioning thing. And it's weakened, right? It's weakened air conditioning that can negatively affect somebody, okay? So it's not really strong. Like, it's not positively strong air conditioning that should even be alive, right? Or existing. And what autophagy does is it goes and wipes out that entire AC, that air conditioning thing, and turns it completely white. And that's your immune system. And it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And obviously, in order to beat cancer, you have to have a strong immune system. When I found out about this, I was like, okay, let's do it. So I had immune boosting to prevent cancer, destroys any remaining cells. It recreates your white blood cell count, right? So it destroys them all and then it rebuilds them. Now they're stronger than ever. Deep starvation of cancer cells. Okay, so these are all things that had happened in my body within those first couple of years that really started starving any potential cancer cells that existed if they did. Okay. Now the effect was that I started getting very lean, probably too lean. And I wish I didn't lose the weight that I had lost, but it's just what had to happen in order for me to really have the longevity of my life, right? I don't recommend 1 meal a day for every human. So like, that's the thing is like every human is completely different and I don't recommend it for everybody. And this is an example of what I would be eating in a day, which is really massive omelets with meats, vegetables, you know, bacon, avocado, all organic, all pasture raised, all that stuff. Okay, I'll elaborate on that in a second. And again, this is what I looked like. So as again, I got more and more and more shredded, which is great. And again, it starved any cancer. And again, at this time, all my food and everything is organic. So that is another factor. And yes, it does cost more money. So I do understand that there may be people watching this saying like, I can't afford pasture raised, organic, like all that stuff. I get it. It does cost money. If you can, I do highly recommend it. Okay. But so let's go back over here. Let me get some water. Okay. So, let's go up here real quick. All right. So that was the 1 meal a day stage. Okay. Now at this point, about 23-ish years old. All right. Again, I still had anxiety, still had a lot of worry, still had a lot of those things going on, but we had to figure out, okay, what are some different types of supplements that I could take that could still have a positive effect on this, that could beat this. So here in Austin, Texas, there's a guy named Dr. Myers. If you want to get a hold of him, you can just contact me on Instagram or comment below, say Dr. Myers, and then I will be able to hopefully chat with you. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Logan Sneed _. And he's going to be a real doctor that is able to truly help you and will not hide anything from you. He has given me every single remedy to beat this tumor and beat this cancer sort of stuff. He hasn't hidden anything. He is not afraid to say the truth, give the truth, nothing but the truth. And so he is the guy to talk to that I give a lot of credit to that saved my life. Okay, so let's come up here and just kind of mention these supplements. Again, it could be different based on different situations, but if you do see him, he will give you a roadmap based on your blood, based on, your situation, how you're feeling, all these sort of things, okay? So first one is selenium, which supports immune system function and thyroid health and provides antioxidant protection against cellular damage. All right, so I've been taking about 200 mcg per day. I take organic ashwagandha, right? So reduces stress, cortisol levels, enhances mood, energy levels, mental clarity, provides mild anti-inflammatory support, and 2,100 milligrams a day taken with food. Resveratrol, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, okay, but it supports cardiovascular health and healthy blood pressure, provides antioxidant protection, aids in reducing inflammation. That is huge. It's like constantly reducing inflammation is the 101 of supplements. And this is for everybody. I don't care if you have cancer or not. This is for everybody. Okay. Next one here is turmeric. This does have clinical research with tumors on shrinking tumors and preventing tumor regrowth. It is the #1 anti-inflammatory supplement that I think has ever been created. Well, it's not even created. It's a natural herb. It's a natural remedy. So again, supports brain and cardiovascular health, and it's in black pepper. Okay, so that's basically what it is. But you can take it with black pepper. It's not in black pepper, but you take it with black pepper for more of an optimal effect. So huge, definitely recommend. Okay, acetyl L-cysteine, right? So boosts glutathione levels, the blood master, the body's master antioxidant, supports liver detoxification, respiratory health, and helps reduce oxidative stress and inflammation. So another one that helps reduce inflammation. Turkey tails, this is another big one. Again, basically a big immune system boost one, and gut health, massively important, and obviously inflammation. Okay. CoQ10, this supports heart health, energy production, acts as a potent antioxidant, protecting cells, enhancing mitochondrial function. So this is really important. I'm not going to get into mitochondrial functionalities, but this is really, really important to obviously have a strong immune system, okay? Now, vitamin D, really, really, really important, especially for anybody with cancer, like massively important. So it strengthens the immune system, promotes bone health, calcium absorption, improves mood and energy levels. Omega-3, you guys probably have already heard of that. So you guys know that. Vitamin B supports energy production, metabolism, promotes healthy brain function, and reduces stress. And then magnesium, that's huge, like massively important because you have to have your electrolytes. You gotta have your electrolytes, okay? If you can have a good amount of electrolytes on a day-to-day basis, it literally is what blocks cancer from growing. If you have your electrolytes. I'm not gonna go into the science behind it because I'm not a scientist for it. I just know that if you have your electrolytes, it can literally save your entire life. And I don't care if you're worried about cancer or any other disease, it is the number one thing that every human needs for cells to function and operate at optimal level. Okay, now methylene blue. So this helps optimize cellular energy production by supporting mitochondrial function, the powerhouse of cells responsible for creating ATP in the body's energy currency. It acts as an alternative electron carrier in the electron transport chain, increasing ATP production and reducing oxidative stress. Okay, so recommended form is capsules. You guys can look this stuff up. It's very new, and it does have a lot of clinical research. So I would definitely look it up, and you guys can dive more into it. I want you guys to do your own research, but I highly recommend it, okay? Boswellia and frankincense, really, really good for you. It's a very simple cellular health supplement. You guys can look that up on Amazon. It's very herbal remedy, okay? Now there's two that are not on here that I also highly recommend. It's called fenbenzanol and ivermectin, okay? So those two are like the new up and comings. There's claims that they are literally the cure to cancer. You do have to have a prescription to get ivermectin, and I've worked with Dr. Myers to get that. So I basically go see him, he gives me a prescription, boom, done, got it, okay? Fenbenzanol, you don't have to have a prescription or doctor's written note. You can buy that off a shelf, so you guys can look it up. Fenbenzanol, okay? You can look it up on Amazon. Ivermectin, you do have to have a prescription. I take it. It is probably the #1 immune booster I've ever seen in the world, and it's amazing, okay? So highly recommend that. All right, now, we go over here, let's follow this piece here. So from 23 years old to about 27 years old, I began seeing life outside of cancer, okay? Now what happened is I slowly kind of had a realization that like, okay, like these years are going by, the results are great. I think I'm doing good. Like I think this thing is gone. But I still had a realization that like I couldn't live my life in worry. I had to live my life in belief. In this transition, it basically went from looking at past challenges to now current and future challenges. Now, why am I saying challenges? Well, because every day you're gonna have current and future challenges. I don't care how your life is and where it's gonna go, it's gonna happen. But I had always been looking at the past challenges. And too many times we live in our past, especially after being diagnosed with some sort of disease, we live in that past, and that past is who we are, right? And so we're just solely living in those challenges. So anything that happens to us in the current state, we're gonna use our past self for the current problems. Meaning, because we experienced this, or because I had brain cancer, means that I can or can't do this. Right? That is past challenges. That's focusing on that. And I started seeing life outside of that. So feeling free. So at this point in my life, I began feeling free. I used keto deeply to still starve any cancer cells. I was financially free. I built my health coaching business that went super viral and people were really interested. But I would still feel and have trauma in me, right? But this is when the belief that the cancer was never coming back is when it started, right? So in my body, in my mind, this cancer was like subconsciously there. Like it was like in me, and I had always lived in this state of worry that if I touched anything outside of perfectly healthy food, I would die. Now that is a partial good thought to have because it pushed me to stay, near perfect health. I was perfectly healthy, right? So I give that credit to save my life. But then it's a different stage of life. I can't live my entire life in this constant, hypervigilance and hyper state of worry, thinking that I'm in my own little world that doesn't fit into reality, right? And so I lived in fear that I couldn't break my perfect keto diet, right, of fasting and repeat. I feared it, so I began trapping myself. But this time it had me realize that for me to truly believe it, I can't be trapped by my own weapon. And this is where I began traveling and exploring life more. So I still even had fear that like, oh, if I travel, like, I'm not going to be able to eat perfect, right? And that was a fear. But what happened was when I healed the trauma, my immune system boosted because it was no longer in me, right? When my mind and my body and my soul, my head was my electricity, okay? These are the thoughts. The heart was the magnet, and these are the emotions. And there was some, disalignment, right? And this is what creates constant trauma, constant worry, constant tension in your mind and your body, mentally and physically and emotionally. But when I brought it together, and that is what completely boosted my immune system, okay? They've done clinical research on when you feel you have a purpose, you usually live longer. And when you have deep relationships, you live longer. Those are one of the top proven stats right there. And that only would have happened if I let go of my past. It doesn't mean I go eat trash. It doesn't mean that I do that. I've changed my lifestyle into a new 2.0, right? And so you can see here, I got into public speaking, traveling the world, financially free. And I started really building my life that I've always dreamed of. And seriously, I could not have been more grateful. And it was massively, massively, a huge shift. But it all started here. Okay, so now when we go back over here, let's follow this here. So we're looking at 26 to 29, right? So this right here, this is when I started really getting into meditation and trauma recognition, right? Because again, I still would get anxiety, right? But I consciously would say, oh, I'm done. Like I moved on from it, but that doesn't mean subconsciously that I was. So when you meditate, you are going into your own soul subconsciously, and you're really looking at yourself from a third person point of view. So I was looking at Logan about, this kid who had brain cancer. I was looking at this guy and just kind of really feeling, seeing him, what he had gone through, what he was experiencing, but that wasn't me. That was old me. So I'd watched myself. So I couldn't exit anxiety. And in this time period, for many years, I could not stop anxiety. And I don't know why. I would go, be productive, and I would get so much anxiety. I would go eat good food. I'd feel good for 5 minutes. So much anxiety. Go do more work. So much anxiety. Eat good food. Feel good. So much anxiety. And I would be constantly looping on the next thing that's coming and the next thing is happening. And I would never be in the moment. Coming up over here, right, this resulted in daily shortness of breath. This caused me to never feel, to never fully be able to breathe properly. So I had this like significant problem of shortness of breath, right? And so by not, breathing properly led to unexpected seizures due to lack of oxygen intake. But I began visualizing things that I didn't want inside of me. Anything that I didn't want in me began being visualized outside of me. And this retrained my subconscious and conscious mind that I was no longer cancer. All right, so I did have seizures. I've had probably 8 seizures, and I'll explain that in the next pieces over here. But that has to do a lot with anxiety. It has almost all of it to do with anxiety. All right, now the immune system was boosted to prevent cancer, destroys any remaining cells, and it recreates your white blood cell in deep starvation of cancer cells. Again, this is what happens when you solely are now believing internally of who you are, right? So this is called the sphere of sovereignty. And this is the meditation that I had done. And this is the Logan life, right? So this is what I always want. I want money. I want relationships. I want good health. I want happiness. I want peace. I want freedom. Those are the things that I want to feel and I want to always have, right? Now, that radius of energy is protecting me, right? So I'm imagining and I'm sitting here, imagining all those things inside of me, around me, it's in me, it's coming in me, it is me, okay? But that shield there is protecting me from anything that I don't want, which is obviously cancer, which is PTSD experiences, constant worry, and abandonment. And these are just examples of trauma that I have experienced that shaped my life negatively. But then I'm going through the sphere of sovereignty, and I'm looking at those things. They're not inside me, they're outside of me. So when I'm meditating, again, the shield is around me, and then I look at the cancer cell. So as an example, I'm looking at the cancer cell right here. I'm looking at it. And because I'm looking at it, or not cancer cell, we'll call it tumor because that's what it was. I'm looking at the tumor right here, and I see it and I feel it, and I'm imagining it, right? But it's right here. It's not right here. It's right here. And this is what had really trained my brain to know that that is not me. It's not me anymore. All right. So that is a huge, huge step that I had. Now let's go to this part here, which is about 27 to 29. You guys can see seizures. Okay. So 6, 7, and 9 years later, seizures. The seizures that happened were all dissected and found that happened with too much of a spike of blood sugar, dehydration, overtraining, lack of electrolytes, and being at such high elevation. So there were times that I did have anxiety attacks, panic attacks on what I truly wanted, right? And so I was trying to perfect the fasting. I didn't listen to my body. I listened to my head. Right? I was living in a state of worry. I hadn't released it. It was in the process, right? I was overthinking. I created a doomsday process. So there was moments on a plane where I basically had a thought of this whole doomsday moment. I was in a plane going to Tokyo, and it was just me. I was by myself, and I just had this really bad thought, and I just had this doomsday moment where I almost lost control. Well, I did, and boom, started seizing on the plane, caused an emergency landing. Well, it wasn't an emergency landing. Landed in Tokyo and woke up. The other time this happened was I was in a plane flying from, I think, Dubai to India, or India to Dubai, one or the other. And I had a seizure in the middle of the flight, and it resulted in an emergency landing in Romania. And that was the same thing. I was overtraining. I had no electrolytes, way too much caffeine. I was not hydrated. And I just had a lot of anxiety that I would create in my head. I didn't control my mind enough yet, okay? So hear me out. We go back to the meditation here. You do control your mind, okay, but this takes training. It doesn't just happen one time. It takes a lot of training, and I've been working on this for so many years now, and I do feel that it has been almost fully cured, I could say. So seizure 1 took place in a cafe. So much was going on, right? So I was in a cafe. So much was happening in the cafe. Someone was trying to get my attention, and I was on a call, and boom, I began seizing, right? And so on top of that, it was when I was testing off of keto, but the root cause was overstress and anxiety. So I had tested not doing keto, and it led to a seizure. Now, does this mean I could never do a non-keto food, whatever again? No, it doesn't mean that. What I had done wrong was that I was not hydrated. I did way too much fasting, and I had a smoothie that was not a keto smoothie, okay? So I basically starved myself, dropped my blood sugar massively, and then boom, I spiked it massively. And then it dropped again, right? And so that is exactly what can cause a seizure. Seizure 2 took place in my apartment, and I was overwhelmed with so many things going on, so many New Year's things. I had people coming to me for help, and I just got so overwhelmed. And I love helping people. That's why I'm making this video. But it was just, I don't know what it was. I just was at a moment, a week, a month, and I had so many people asking for help. And one day it was just so many people all bombarding my phone, and I just started getting this massive anxiety attack, and boom, I started seizing. Number 3 was when I was having coffee with a friend, and I was just super anxious. I was so dumb. I had way too much coffee, and I did not have any water, and had a seizure at a coffee shop. Seizure 4 happened at a basketball game. I had 3 coffees in the morning and almost no water, and I was completely dehydrated and started seizing at the basketball game. All right, so you're picking up on here of what's happening. All right, stay hydrated. All right, don't overtrain. This one here took place when I had no food. I had coffee, little to no water, and lack of oxygen created by the pressure to the brain. So when the plane is in the air, it's super high elevation. So that creates more pressure, which creates more pressure in the brain, which makes anybody more susceptible to a potential seizure. And then number 6, this happened when I couldn't breathe due to anxiety and was dwelling on what I was worried on, lack of oxygen or hydration and elevation, and resulted in a seizure on the plane. So this was another situation of the Tokyo one. And just, again, it brought all the pieces together, and there you go. Now, effect number 10, okay? So this is when there was an unknown tumor that came into play. And this is what really scared me, because I would get these MRIs and one of the neuro-oncologists said, hey, it looks like there's something there. Something seems to be growing. It needs monitoring to see potential growth. And surgery began to come up in the talks, and it really got me worried. And it increased my dose of medication to prevent seizures, which is fine. And they found out that I have such a fast metabolism that I'm literally pissing things out so quickly that the medicine had really no positive effect until I doubled the dose, okay? Now, as the months had gone by, as the years had gone by, to just monitor what this little thing was in my head, we didn't know. Was it a tumor? Was it cancer? Was it scar tissue? Like, what was it? Thankfully enough, after those probably 2 years, it's scar tissue, right? And the scar tissue was inflamed and can then stimulate seizures, right? So it is normal to have, and it can be treated, but there was no clear progression of any kind. So what I do is I'm always constantly taking ketogenic products, beta-hydroxybutyrate. This is also a supplement I forgot to put on the list. It's BHB, okay? So this puts you in a very deep state of ketosis, and this is a massive cure to seizures. And if you look up ketoneaid.com or perfectketo.com, they have the best beta-hydroxybutyrate combination to help prevent seizures. Okay, so I take it all the time, every single day, and it will definitely help that. And so that's what it was. It's scar tissue that's still in there. I still get it monitored, but nothing has grown, so that's good news. Current state, okay? So best shape, currently in the best shape of my life. I'm running about 20 to 25 miles per week. I'm at like a near an elite level, and I'm lifting 4 days a week. So my diet currently is doing keto about 90% of the time. I'm not being strict of tracking macros, but am understanding what to eat and what not to eat. And I'm working on recovery, and I eat out and stay keto. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys some photos here in a second, but mental health, I am having little to no stress, okay? Like, man, I can't tell you how grateful I am, because I have had a bigger vision of reality. And the only way to see the real reality was me to meditate. I did everything I could do, guys, to overcome anxiety, but meditation was the only thing that has cured it. The only thing, okay? And it has expanded my mind, because like I was in this bubble. I was in this bubble of the small world that I was in with my problems, my anxiety, my thing, all this stuff. And I was in this fight in this bubble between me and myself. In this constant fight, you're never gonna win, okay? And this is what creates negative mental health, emotional health overall. But when I then realized that this bubble, like I don't have to be trapped in this bubble, and then I can actually control the world, my own world, it completely has literally decreased my stress by like 98%. Okay, so yeah, and then what happened was too, is I also built the confidence in myself by diving into a dream of creating the world's first AI goal journal. So I found purpose, I had an invention, making a money-making machine, and changes lives, and it's peace, tranquility, and fulfillment. So over the years, I made tons of money in coaching, and I've changed hundreds and thousands of lives, and I'm so grateful. But I've gotten to a point where, you know, business coaching has always been fun, but I've always known that there's something more that I can do. And when I created and found out about my idea of the world's first AI goal journal, I got so excited, because I was like, nobody's ever done this. This is such a good idea. I've wanted to make a journal business. It changes people's lives. It saves people's lives, and it can make me a ton of money. This is it. This is my purpose. This is my calling. Because I had used a journal when I first started my business in college. I used a goal tracking journal to create my business. I did, and it created my entire life I wanted. That's why I love journaling. So this has helped my mental health, emotional health. Never been more common in my life because I have dove deeper into understanding who I was shaped into being based on my past experiences. This is all with the process of meditation and traveling to experience life in a broader spectrum. By experiencing life in a broader standpoint, I've seen myself by living in the world you were born in doesn't reveal who you are because you have a small circle world. But when the world is seeing it from a new perspective, you now see endless possibilities of who you really are, okay? Now let me dive into this, all right? So there's people who can follow any religion, any spiritual belief, any sort of whatever it is, but they still have this feeling of like, I don't, like they think that they're happy, but they're really not. And the reason is because they're not willing to open up their mind. They're not willing to say, I'm wrong. They're not willing to say, what else is out there? They're not willing to seek that level of discomfort that gives them those new opportunities. They're stuck in their bubble. They live in comfort, right? But by experiencing these new things that made me uncomfortable, I traveled the world by myself. I was spending day with people that are insane. I'll show you some photos. And I seeked discomfort in numerous ways that I knew would help me grow. And this is what has expanded my mind, which has literally created an all new world of mental health for me and emotional health, okay? Right, so by living in the world you were born into doesn't reveal who you are because you have a small world. But when the world is seeing it from a new perspective, you now see endless possibilities of who you really are. And I am now confident, happy, fulfilled, and excited to build my business, which is the One Story AI Goal Journal. And I'm more happy now building this and investing all the money all of my money than I was by making tons of money. Okay, so I was making tons and tons of money with coaching, and it's amazing. But it wasn't really fully fulfilling. Versus now, this journal, I'm so fulfilled. I'm willing to put every single penny that I own, and I love every bit of it. And that to me is so much better than just seeking out tons and tons and tons and tons of money, right? Don't get me wrong, I was changing people's lives and it's amazing, but this invention is really what is making me fulfilled. It's bringing me peace and freedom. Okay, so to come down here real quick, let me just show you guys the photos. Okay, so these are just photos of, kind of my day-to-day life, my physical health here, mental health. This is me traveling with my friends, traveling the world, experiencing amazing things. This is still me in Italy eating keto. This is me just experiencing different people with different lives and going to Bali, and again, amazing food here, all keto food, business class experience, all this stuff here. It's just incredible. Spending a day with a 125-year-old, it's wild. Going to Dubai, I already put that photo there. Watching a brain surgery, I watched 2 live brain surgeries. It had me like relive my trauma, right? Like I faced my trauma. I didn't run from it. I had to face it. It's called a threshold choice. You either run from your trauma, and you're never gonna outrun it, or 2, you face it, and how could you figure out what your life purpose is, right? And that's what watching brain surgeries literally did. Okay, and then this is just New York, business class, it's Monaco. These guys are 2 men in one body, the world's smallest woman, and so on. Come down here, the life goal and vision, right? The next steps of my life is I'm on a mission to build a 1-story, 100-day AI goal journal. This has been a dream of mine, right? An invention for humanity that not only changes lives, but also creates massive impact, wealth, and legacy. And it builds around my story and my purpose. So I am so excited. If you're watching this video, there's probably a link below for the journal, or it may not be out yet, but more than likely will be down below. You guys can buy your journal if you want. It will change your life. I am so confident it will. So yeah, it's a gift to you. It's amazing. I do go get MRIs, and thankfully they've all remained stable. And for the first time, I have a deep sense of calmness. And so I'm still meditating every single day. And I can promise you guys, like I can't, it's unexplainable what it can do to your body, to your mind. in your soul. Like, it's unexplainable. You just have to do it for it to fully understand. So at this stage, I'm also pursuing something new, which is a relationship. And over time, I've built confidence in who I truly am, clarity in what I desire, and emotional stability to carry it. I used to think that confidence was built by building wealth. Not the case at all, okay? Not the case at all. And I've really grown my own personal confidence in myself. And so a relationship is something that is a goal of mine. I don't know who, what, where, when, but that is a goal. Through my experiences traveling across the world, I've gained a new vision of humanity. And I've realized that at the core, every person is just a human, ordinary, yet searching. Everyone wants something to fall back on, okay? A relationship, a religion, a purpose. And this realization shifted my perspective, right? So I went from living in a circle in a small town to now experiencing things that most people will never have the chance to see. And when my bubble slowly expanded, seeking discomfort, new life, new opening my mind and vision, this has massively, massively changed my life forever. And so, yeah. I believe disease, whether cancer, otherwise, represents the loss of that feeling of protection or security. But it's in those moments, whether through illness, heartbreak, or sudden life changes, that the real test begins. It's where people are given the opportunity to discover who they really are. So if you or somebody going through something like this is an opportunity to discover who you truly are. This does not mean that you're going to go live to 100 years old. You could die tomorrow. You could die next year. You could die in 20 years. I don't know. Nobody knows. But what I can tell you is this. You would rather live 50 years being somebody so fulfilled and having pursued all things in life rather than somebody who's 100 and regret that you didn't do anything. Think about that, okay? And too many people lose themselves in religion, in others, or in external escapes without realizing who they don't even know who they are. Okay, the truth is going through hell is often the path to finding your real self. Without an open mind to experiment, experience, and change, people remain stuck in the world that slowly destroys them whether they admit it or not, okay? So you can believe in whatever you want to believe in. If you don't face your demons, if you don't face these challenges, and if you don't seek discomfort on doing new things that will 100% help you grow, you will not change. You will not. I don't care what you believe in, you will not change. You have to be the one that faces that. All right, so cancer gave me purpose and my plan and my power. I didn't see it at the time, but when I faced it, I faced the choice of death or using cancer as fuel, and I chose to go all in. And that decision changed everything. And over the years, my brain, body, and soul have now evolved. I realized that this journey, this process of constant transformation is what life is truly about. And through it all, I've grown closer to my truest self. Okay, so I think there's one other thing up here. Yeah, I think that's really about it, guys. So that's just kind of my message to you. If you guys want to screenshot this is also a diagram that I had made. So just screenshot this. This will also give you some understanding of kind of my health, journey. It's just a different type of diagram. But that's my message to you guys is that take this video. I really hope you bring at least something in action, whether it's mental health, emotional health, physical health, financial, spiritual health, whatever. I really hope that you do. And if you know anybody who has gone through something like this with cancer, please send it to them because I do believe it will give them some motivation and hope because doctors gave me a literal 0 chance to beat this, do anything about it. And it was not good. Okay. It was the worst cancer that I could have been diagnosed with. And it was bad. And it was in my head for 6 years. So I just want you to know that this was not something simple. This is very, very, very complicated. And I was put in one of the worst positions possible. So if you're on here, I want to give you some hope that there is things and there are things out there that you can do. Again, it doesn't promise anything in life, but what I will tell you is it gives you hope, purpose, and a mission to go after. So with that being said, if you haven't checked out onestory.me, where you can buy the world's first AI goal journal, the link is below. If you haven't subscribed, welcome to One Story Psychology, where I'm going to show you different stories of different transformations, different people and how their life has completely changed, and how yours can too. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.